Hi, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Flock Talk. I'm Robin Sullivan of the Leather Elves, and I am excited to be back. It's been a couple weeks, and I wanted to let you guys know. Well, first of all, the usual announcements. You can like us and follow us on Facebook. That way, you can find out whenever we're going to go live. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Instagram. So, it's a lot of different ways to do that. Um, we have been off for a couple weeks, just so you guys know, because I know you are all you're like a part of our family. Mark, my partner and the chief production elf, had a heart attack on August 31st, and he's doing okay. We are kind of in a holding pattern, so things are a little bit slower here than they usually are. But I wanted to let you guys know just so that if you place an order with the Leather Elves and things take a little bit longer than usual, that's why. We also wanted to let you know that on October 23rd, we're going to be hosting a DIY Halloween workshop, so Halloween hook bills, and you can order the kit online, and that will register you for the workshop. It's under the DIY section. That's on October 23rd at 7 p.m. The next live stream we will be doing is October 13th. I will be at Long Island at Long Island Parrot Society's Expo, and I will be speaking on the 14th if anybody's out on Long Island. So lots of announcements, but I would like to introduce you all to a very dear friend who is also an amazing behaviorist. She is someone that I've come to know over the years, and this is Hilla Niemann. Hello, Hilla.
Hello, Robin. How are you?
It's so good to see you. And Hilla is at Seattle Parrot Expo. She's getting ready for Seattle Parrot Expo. That begins tomorrow. So lots going on there.
Oh, a lot of people running around, taking all their stuff inside the building. Everybody's busy, and I'm happy that I'm here just to talk to you because here it's quiet and we can have a little chat together.
You're welcome. I got you out of the work.
Yeah, thank you.
It's Debbie would be having you do something, I'm sure. So you're welcome. So I wanted to talk to you tonight about what you do. What do you do for the parrot community? Well, you do a lot for the parrot community globally, but what kind of thing? What do you do on a regular basis when you're at home in Germany?
Okay, let me begin with my usual day because after breakfast I serve my own birds, which usually takes me 1.5 hours, and this is the time where my hands are working, but my brain is somewhere else because I know when I clean up the cages, reset the toys, see what's destroyed, what I have to add to new things, all this kind of stuff. I begin to think about all the birds that I'm consulting, what is in my schedule today. And after that, I begin to work, which means usually I answer all the emails on the WhatsApp I got, which I did not answer yesterday. I set up the schedule for the day, have my consultations, which are phone consultations, Zoom consultations. Just look what consultations are in-home consultations in the next week. And in the evenings, usually I have from about 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. my online working groups, which are groups where the owners met together. And we've got different topics like training and behavior of birds, which are usually different things that we discuss there. They show up and I ask them what has happened in the last 4 weeks because every group meets every 4 weeks. Then they tell me, oh, we got some problems with food, or my bird is in an hormonal state, or something like that. And we discuss this. I explain that. And we also have some issues like special training sessions where we have a goal that would like to reach with those birds. And these sessions are usually in the evening for 1 hour or more. And there are also some private Zoom sessions in the evenings because usually, taking birds is spending a lot of money for the toys and for the birds, and the usual owner works during the day, so the consultations for the birds are usually then when the owner's at home, and that is in the evening.
So it's a full day. Hilla and I were talking before we went live, and one of the things we were discussing was there are no sick days. There's no vacation time. You are working 24/7, and it's, I mean, it's worth it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I think you'll agree, Hilla, when you see that success, when someone has a breakthrough with their bird, or something really great happens that they've been working on, it's worth it, but it is a lot of work.
Yes, because birds don't know if it's Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. And usually, when the owner is at home on the weekends, I can tell you on Saturday, I get the most WhatsApp messages from the owners because then they have the time and they watch their birds and they realize, oh, there's a problem, and I didn't realize it during the week, and now it's Saturday, and I have to ask you. You cannot wait to answer those messages till Monday because it's an animal and animals are there now. So I usually work on Saturdays and Sundays too. And I think it's wonderful. And when you get a success and you see that the bird steps on the hand the first time, you are so happy with the owner. I remember a case where there was an African grey that was plucking, and she plucked for 6 years. And we got a long, long way till all her feathers grew back. And then suddenly I got a message on a Saturday that she flew the first time after 6 years. And the owner was crying. And I think that was one of the most wonderful moments in my career when this bird began to fly again.
Hmm. It's those moments that
Yes.
make it all worth it. So, how did you get started? Were you a bird owner all your life? How did Hill and Niemann become who she is today?
Okay, my first bird was a budgie, like always. It's always a budgie that wins your heart. It sits there in front of you, it's small, it's cute, and it chills a little bit, and its name was Friedwart, and she was a free female. I didn't knew nothing about parrots during that time, and then I began to realize how wonderful and awesome these birds are. And then there was the second budgie, the third, the fourth. I got an Amazon, all these kind of birds, and I remember I was at a party and one of my friends asked me, what do you want to do when you finish your biology study? And I said, I wanted to be a bird person. I wanted to work with parrots. And she was laughing at me. And that was the moment where I knew, okay, this is what I want to do. Because she's laughing and I love birds and I will tell her that this is a wonderful job. And this is what I did. This is how the idea was growing. And then I married, and my two daughters came. And when you've got two daughters, you don't have very much time. But then I began to write articles, and the first questions came in, and it was more and more time consuming till we decided, okay, we make a job out of it. I was certified at the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants, and I realized that this is a wonderful job that you do because you get so much rewards from it. You get so much positive energy, and you are living with the birds. You know so many wonderful persons and peoples and birds, and during your work. And I do this for nearly now 20 years.
Nice. So, and I think that's what happens is you meet that first bird and it steals your heart, and then you just keep going from there. And then you meet the people that go with the birds, and it's the whole package.
Yes, definitely. I met so
Yeah.
many wonderful bird persons, and they've got so much humor, and they love the birds, and you have so many wonderful experiences. Um, I remember a consultation in home. She got an African grey, and it was wonderful. And when I packed all my stuff, the bird said to me, "Bye bye." In this situation, he said, "Oh, you seem to be happy
I'm
that
with
you are
you.
leaving." Yeah, but it was so cute in that moment because he knew that somebody was leaving, and he said to everybody that's leaving, that is taking his things with him, "Bye bye." That's so nice.
Oh, it's great. So I know you and I have worked together a number of times, and we've talked about this before. What is different about parrot keeping in Germany than here in the United States?
Well, I think parrot keeping is generally getting more difficult because we've got a lot of legislation problems. In Germany, you are supposed to keep parrots as pairs from a different gender, female and male. Um, and it's not that easy for the birds and for the owners because when you want to pair a bird, the first thing is you need to have the opposite sex and the opposite age
Hmm.
and the age. So just let me talk about that. We've got an African gray female and she supposed to get a male. She was living for about 10 years alone, and then somebody's coming from the government telling you you need to have a second African gray male. The problem is that the females choose the males. And they don't take every male that you sit in front of them. They say, this is not the right one, this is not the right one, this is not the right one. You have 8, 10 males that you introduce to the female, and she doesn't want them anymore. And especially in African gray, it's easier to pair a male with a female than a female with a male because they choose. So what the owner does is he buys a male, puts it into the cage of the female or into the same aviary, and they don't like each other because the government tells them if you don't keep them as pairs, we take the bird from you away. This means that a lot of birds in Germany are living with mates that they don't like, which leads to other
Hmm.
problems like chasing, biting, plucking because they are so unhappy with the other birds. Before that, we had a bird that was quite happy as it lived, and now we've got two birds that are both unhappy. And we've got more males than females. Especially in cockatoos, we have very, very rare females, and in African grays, it's nearly the same now. So if you want to pair your bird, you need to find a female. Nobody gives a nice, friendly female away because they are so cute. You understand that? It's
Right.
a real big problem in the meantime. And the other thing is that the government wants the aviaries to go bigger, bigger, and bigger. So you can't keep them at home anymore. Um, when you've got, I remember a case with blue-fronted Amazon. She was living in a big cage, and she was out of the cage most of the day. And because the owners were at home, she flew around in the living room and in the office. And then somebody from the government came and said, okay, the cage is too small, so you need to give him another cage. But the room was not big enough for the cage, you see, because the walls were in a direction that it didn't work. So we had really, really big problems that this bird could stay in the home because of the aviary that was a little bit, I think it was about a few centimeters that it was too small. This is what's happening now that they come, they tell you the aviary is too small and you need to get a second bird, even if you don't find one for this bird, and then you put birds together that don't like each other. And they are all in
So,
the
what's the purpose in
the,
having pairs?
the purpose is that they have another bird for company because we are humans, we cannot give them the company they need. I think that's okay. The intention is all right, but birds are
Hmm.
individuals. It's like telling you, go on the street, the first man you meet, even if it's 10 years younger than you, is the one that you take home and live with. That's absolutely stupid because usually
Not
I
so
choose
bad.
my husband myself. And when we tell on one hand that birds mate for life, they should have the choice for the person that they share their life with. But we can't or don't give them a choice. We just offer them one bird and say, okay, take this one because this is the only one I find for you. So you have to live with this person. They are, we all know birds are individuals. They have all different characters like we have. The problem is they look all the same, despite the ones that are plucking.
Right.
This one we take out. But the other ones all look the same. So everybody believes that if they all look the same, they all have the same character, and this is not true. Can
Okay.
um,
Okay.
when you've got a vet or a consultant that writes you a paper, there is a possibility that the bird can stay with you. But it depends on where you are living and the person that is from the government that tells you that.
And how, I mean, so I know that it's an issue here in the United States that there are not enough people to enforce the laws, which is not such a horrible thing.
Oh, you're frozen again.
Um,
Yes.
are there enough people who are qualified to do the
Inspections.
inspections and things like no?
Uh, you were frozen
Okay,
again. Can you repeat?
sure. I'm sorry that I know we're dealing with not such a fabulous internet connection. If so the people that come and do the inspections, are there enough of them who know about birds to do those, who come and check to see if you have the right setup or you have the right number of birds?
No, they've got some papers and some documents where everything that should be known about birds is written down, and they just check it. And if something is not like it's told in the papers, they tell them, okay, that you are supposed to keep them as pairs, find a mate, and it's not interesting for them if the birds like each other. They tell you find a mate, and when you put a second bird beneath the bird, they're fine. I remember a case. She had two Senegal parrots, male and female, and sometimes they don't do well with each other. So she put them in separate cages because when they were together, they attacked each other, and this could be really serious till one bird is dead. Then somebody from the government came and said, okay, you are supposed to keep them as pair in one cage. And she told the person, well, if I keep them in both in one cage, they will kill each other. And he said, no, no, they don't do this about one species. We are talking about 80 species. And every species has got its own behavior. It's a difference if you've got an eclectos or if you've got an African grey or a rose-breasted cockatoo or a cake or a Senegal parrot. It's not the same.
Yeah. No, it's not. And, I know Karen Anderson is listening, and Karen has often said they're not mammals.
Yeah,
First of all,
definitely.
they're not mammals. You can't take care of them the same way. And I think that's something that we, as people who speak, as people who go out and educate the public, it's really important for people to understand that you may be the best dog and cat owner ever,
Yeah.
but this is a whole different ball game. This is a complete different situation. Um, so Lori McFarland just asked, are these visits from the government announced or not?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the government, you never know if they're
Well,
going to show up or not.
I don't know. But I think this is a lesson that we all need to pay attention to, those of us that are listening in the States, that, we need to be careful that we don't end up in this type of situation. So when legislation comes up, you need to be aware of it. And I know Adrian Mock was on before, and Adrian is works on legislative issues with AFA. And I think this is, something that we all need to be aware of, that it's not so impossible that this could happen.
Just be careful what you post on Facebook and Insta. Yeah? Just be
Yeah.
careful what you offer the public from your personal parrot keeping. Don't put everything in a picture.
I think that's a really important point, Hilla, and I'm glad you brought it up, is that when you do post, if you are having an issue with your bird, maybe you post a different picture and you ask the question that you want to ask, but just be aware that there are people who are on Facebook, who are on Instagram, who are not bird people, who don't understand that a plucked bird is not necessarily an abused bird.
No, usually they are the best taken care of.
You're frozen. Oh, are you
Yeah, yeah,
frozen?
yeah. I need a rest,
Okay.
so therefore I freeze.
You're so still. I didn't know for sure if it was the internet or you.
I want to add something for Facebook and Instagram because I always tell the owner, when you've got a question about your bird and the behavior of your bird, just write it down on a paper and then write down every answer that you can imagine. Every. because you will find every answer on Facebook and on Instagram that you can think of, because everybody there is an expert, believe me.
It's it's so true. I I lurk on Facebook so that it's I read things and I keep reading and I start to no, don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So in your career, what would you consider to be the most difficult behavior to address?
Screaming, because screaming is the most is the main reason why parrots are given up, because screaming is distress. The owner gets aggressive because it's loud for hours and it's so difficult to stop the bird from screaming. And what they usually in the first moment do is they just give the bird a treat or something like that. They reinforce the screaming. This is the best way to teach a bird screaming. And then when they have to address this behavior, you let to have the bird scream even, and don't react. You can't even look at it. And it's getting so immensely loud that the owner says, I can't do this anymore. I have to give the bird up. And this is so sad. And usually when you've got a screaming therapy, it takes about 6 weeks. And before it's getting quiet, it's getting louder, immensely loud. And it's so difficult for the owner. And I think the success for screaming therapy is less than 50%.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think that it's the most frustrating, and it kind of brings us back to the discussion of mammals because you don't see that same level of. Sometimes you can with a dog, but that level of noise is not happening.
No.
And if your dog is barking and you goes to the other end of the house, okay, your parrot's screaming and it's at the other end of the house, you're still going to hear it.
You're going to hear it
And
a mile away when you are lucky.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
knows that this bird is screaming.
Well, and then, and the reinforcing the screaming happens so often. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have asked me to help with screaming, with birds that are screaming, and well, if I give him this, he's quiet. Yeah,
Mhm.
but now you've told him it's okay. It's a good thing.
I I always tell people, when you want to teach a bird screaming, what happens is you've got new birds and you love them, and you come home and they begin to scream for for their attention. You go into the living room at the aviary, say, how was your day? Are you fine? Wonderful. I will give you an almond. And then you just take your coat off and put your shoes off, and you go into the kitchen because you want to take them to prepare the dinner, and the birds scream again. And you come back and you check, oh, you've got water, you've got your food, and okay, you are still hungry, you want another almond. Second reinforced. And then you go back into the kitchen and they begin to scream again. And then you tell them, oh no, you've got two almonds, you have got water, you have got your toys, and I am there and I will be back in a minute, but now I prepare dinner for my family. But then your husband comes home and the birds are new and they scream, and he goes to the aviary and says, oh, what's happening? Do you want a grape? Here is a grape. Once again. And then you just realize that the birds are screaming when you're out of the room. And the whole family decides nobody goes to the bird. What happens is the birds have realized, oh, when we scream, somebody comes. So they didn't hear that we screamed, so we have to scream louder that somebody comes. So they begin to scream louder. And the whole family is sitting in the kitchen and everybody's really getting aggressive. And then suddenly the husband says, no, this is enough. And he goes into the room and he says, shut up. Oh, that's wonderful. We played the game. You scream, we scream. You can teach a
Yeah.
bird in one day to scream. It's not a problem.
No, it's too bad that's not something people want. Maybe we could promote that, Hilla. It would be the easiest job we've ever had. We can teach your bird to scream.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. One day, here's how it goes. It's wonderful.
Oh, that's an idea. but it's true, and it's that you do things, and it's human nature. If something appears to be unhappy or in pain, or that making noise, you go in to check on it.
Yes.
And when you were telling that story about the wife goes in, the wife goes in, the husband goes in, not only that, but then you go in to say, I'm not doing this anymore,
Hmm.
right? So now you've re
Come on, Robin. Log back in. You are technically online, yes. Hopefully, Robin will come back shortly. Karen Anderson says you cannot win a screaming match with a parrot. You are.
Okay. So as long as Robin not showing up and Karen Anderson just told me what?
You cannot win a screaming match with a parrot.
No, you cannot win a screaming match with a parrot. That's definitely true. Ah, there she is back.
I,
You
I
needed a break, didn't you?
I was talking to myself. I just kept going.
That must be
I
very
knew we were pushing
reinforcing
it
for
a little
you.
bit. No, I was saying that I think with you go in and you check, and then you get frustrated and you say, I'm not going to go anymore. But then when you go back in to put it, I'm going to put an end to this, I'm going to stop it, you're still doing the same thing. Just
Yes.
because you feel differently, the bird is still getting the same response.
Now the problem is when you talk about reinforcing is when what you do is you reinforce variable. You don't reinforce every scream, but that scream. And the bird says, oh, I don't know when you reinforce me, so I scream the whole time or I scream more because I might get attention for that. And this is when the um, behavior in itself gets more stable because it's always possible that you can get a reinforcer. You only do not know when. And the game I
Mhm.
Scream, You Scream is wonderful, and it doesn't matter if you scream because you like the bird or you are angry with the bird because you scream.
Yeah.
The screaming is wonderful.
I think it's true too that I always have people say to me, no, it's not, it never stops. It's constant. I always say to them, there's always that moment. So that and it's so hard to do because you're so angry and frustrated, and I can't do this anymore. When there's that one moment of silence, that's when you reinforce. That's when you give the attention. That's when you give the almond. And but it feels like that moment's never going to come.
Yeah, and sometimes I think, what do people expect from a bird? An Amazon is usually loud in the morning and loud in the evening, and that's fine for an Amazon. It's a happy to be alive scream, and I think that we should allow these birds to be a little bit loud during the day. And the
Yeah.
first thing that I want to hear is from an owner is give me an audio of the screaming, and then I realize it's not the screaming; it's only about chatting a little bit, talking a little bit,
Yeah.
or something like that. Or we've got this high-pitched contact call from African Grace, where
Mhm.
usually husbands don't talk anymore because their ears are deaf to that scream.
Yeah.
And it's a contact call, and you can address this contact call very easily. It depends on the bird, and is it really screaming, or is it only that this bird is vocalizing and it's normal for this species? What did you expect from this bird? Sitting there quiet on a perch, doing nothing, being quiet, nothing? That is not what
Yeah.
birds do.
No, and I think, we all have that friend that's a little too loud or has this slightly annoying voice, and but we don't just stop talking to them.
Hmm.
We
Yes.
don't leave them alone, forever because of that. And this is our bird's normal way to be.
Yes.
It's, if it's in, I think Hilla brings up a really good point that you have to identify what type of call it is. Because, I wouldn't want a bird that was quiet all the time, I don't think. That
What
would
should
be a
I do
little,
with the bird?
it's like having a toddler when they're quiet, something's going wrong.
Yeah. You better check this toddler.
Right, exactly.
Uh-huh.
So, so screaming is a toughie. I think that is probably the most difficult one to address. Um, so, do you have a favorite bird story from over the years?
No, I met so many birds and so wonderful birds. Um, I think every bird is special, and I don't want to say this is what the one bird that I like most, because when you are in when you do an in-home consultation, you never know if the bird likes you. Some birds like people with long blonde hair, others like people with glasses, others like only men with beards. You never know if this bird likes you. So usually the first thing that I do is I want to get in contact with the bird to see if this bird likes me. But I don't look at them. I go into the room. I just watch the aviary, watch if the poop is all right, if the food is okay, what the owner's got for questions. But I don't directly look at the bird. I let the bird get to know in contact with me to see if it likes me. If it doesn't like me, and I've had those birds, then I would just respect that, and I would say, okay, the owner can work with the bird, but I cannot work with the bird. I met an Amazon, her name is Flo, and Flo is like glue. When I come into the house, she's like sitting on me, and I have to take her this way. You are not my bird. I cannot take you home. But I had an African gray that saw me, and I saw like this. When I can get you, I will just bite you as hard as I can. You never know this, but every bird is special, and only because it does not like me does not mean I don't like this bird, because I respect the personality of an animal, and I respect that this bird is not my bird and does not like me, but maybe likes another person. I would not take this bird home, but that does not mean that it's a mean bird. It's only a bird with a special personality. I think that is one of the things that bother me a little bit, that we talk about mean birds, birds that are unfair and that bite because they don't like you. I think they show us with their body language that they don't like the behavior we are showing, and that we should back off a little bit because they are going too near to this bird and they feel a little bit afraid and a little bit angry about us.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, is that part of the study of living with birds, in my opinion, is observation.
Yeah.
It's about, how do I approach this bird? How do I respect this bird? Because we years and years ago, when I first started consulting and doing speaking about birds and enrichment, one of the things someone said to me, I was at a facility, and they said, the gentleman said, well, if that bird wasn't behaving, I'd just grab it. I said, okay. I said, you work with other animals, right? Yep. And he said, "Yeah, I do." And I said, well, do you work with any of the big carnivores? And he said, yep. And I said, so if one of the big carnivores wasn't behaving, what would you do? Well, I'd step out and I'd do this and I'd do that. I said, oh, but you wouldn't just grab it. And he said, no. And I said, of course. He's like, of course not. I wouldn't grab it. I said, well, why not? Well, because I can't. Oh, so it's okay to invade a bird's space and not respect what they're trying to tell us, not observe and listen, but it's not okay with a big carnivore.
Mhm.
It was very eye-opening for me, and that was the beginning of my career. And I've held that all this time, because I really feel so strongly that we can impose our will on our birds, but I find we have so much more success if we offer them choice, if
Yes.
we watch, listen, and then offer choice.
I think it should that be with any animal that we are keeping. Um,
Yeah.
I have I got a new rabbit this year because our old rabbit died, and now we got Daisy. And Daisy is a very independent animal. She's one of those rabbits that don't look really cute. She runs around in the garden, and the first thing when we got her was she ran away. So I told her, okay, do not grab her. I ignored her totally. I walked through beneath her, but I didn't watch at her. I didn't touch her, nothing like that. In the meantime, I can stroke her head. She comes to me when I call her because I never ever tried to get in contact with her. I gave her her space and she came back to me. One of the things
Hmm.
that wonder me is always we have got birds that get that old. And when I've got a bird that is 30 years old, it's a woman like I talk to you. It's a grown up person. It's not a toy. It's not something that I can play with. It's a person with their own personality and own will and its own agenda. So when I talk with my African Grey and she tells me, "No, I know I'm busy. I don't want to come out of my aviary. I want to ignore." I let her stay in her aviary because she doesn't want to come out. It's her decision. And I ask her, "Do you want to join me in the kitchen because I'm making the dinner?" And she says to me, "No, sorry, I'm busy." That's fine. That's her decision. I can come back 10 minutes later and say, "Are you ready? Do you now want to join me?" If not, she can stay in her cage. It's her decision. These are
Yeah.
grown up person, like a grown up man that's 30 years old. Would you go and tell a grown up person on the street what it should do or not do? No. You would ask, "Well, do you want to join me?" And if he would say no, you would say it's okay. And this is when we realize that we talk to adults, not children,
Hmm.
not toys,
Yeah.
then we are on the right track, I guess.
You're absolutely right. And I think it's about offer and making sure that you are truly offering choice, that it's not, well, I said step up, but I didn't, if you keep offering it over and over again, you're not listening.
No,
You're really not offering choice.
no,
And I think, choice is so critical. And when, I just recently did a paper on offering choice and enrichment and how you can change behavior by offering choice and enrichment. And, in everything we do, we have all kinds of choices.
yeah,
You were talking before when you choose your own mate, we choose our mate, we choose where we're going to live most of the time. We choose, what we're going to have for dinner. We choose what time, when we're going to get up, those kind of things. All of those choices are taken away from our birds
yeah,
because we have them in captivity, in human care.
yeah.
You have to fill in those choices.
This is called
What do you
technically
think?
learned helplessness. Learned
Mhm.
helplessness means you are stuck in a situation you cannot get out and you don't have any opportunity to get out. They cannot choose their aviary, they cannot choose their social contacts, they cannot choose their toys, they cannot choose their social contacts, and thankfully they cannot choose what they eat because they all would eat a lot of stuff that is not healthy for them. But when we would live in such a situation, we would be so unhappy. And what bothers me also is you remember when we had Corona and we were not able to get out to meet our friends, to go to social events, something like that. The first few weeks were nice because you could do all the things that were in the office. You could just clean up the house, the things that you always needed to do, but you didn't do this because you didn't have the time. Now you had the time. Our birds are always living in Corona because they cannot get out because it's too dangerous for them. And they live in the same home. And we were so bored and so annoyed after a few months of Corona. They live their whole
Yeah.
life in Corona. And when we realize how boring this must be, then we know how important enrichment is for them because we
Hmm.
need to put new stuffs, new things into their lives that their brain is working. These are highly intelligent birds. It's important for them to work with their heads. And if we don't allow them to work with their heads, they get bored. And Being bored is the playground of the devil.
It's true. It's so true. And, and I used to um, do a class on enrichment. And one of the things we talked about, they did a study with children and they put the children in a room with all kinds of toys and they could choose to play with whatever they wanted to play with. And then they moved them into another room that had nothing. And it was a psychological study, and they asked the children which they liked better. And it was the first one because they had choices. They
Yeah.
could do something or not do something. And I think that's what we need to remember with our birds is that they don't have to be doing something all the time. Like your elderly lady friend Gray, she doesn't always have to be playing and moving and doing things. Sometimes it's nice to just sit.
Yeah.
And
Yes, please.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of owners tell me, well, my bird is sitting there for hours and he's doing nothing. And I said, yes, that's fine because this is an Amazon, and Amazons usually from about 11 to 4 in the afternoon do nothing in the wild. They sit. This is also a behavior, and they can fly away, they can gnaw, they can do whatever they want, and they choose to do nothing, and it's quite normal for a bird. We are the ones
Yeah.
that are totally nervous and need to do everything all the day. We just drive them
Yeah.
crazy with our behavior. And when you offer them a toy and they decide that they don't want to play with this toy now, that's a choice. That's their choice. They can and they don't want to do this, so that's absolutely fine. Maybe they will play with it tomorrow, or it's on the wrong place in the cage and it's underneath the perch because it's difficult to play with it this way. But it's their choice. They can say no, and it's absolutely okay to say no.
Yeah. And that's the thing too when you talk about not playing with a toy. Sometimes not interacting or appearing to not interact is interacting.
Yes, definitely.
It may be, that's a little scary for lack of a better term. I don't want to interact with that today. I'm going to let it be and I'm going to let it sit in my cage for a while and then I'm going to go interact with it. But that is still a form of interact. Avoidance is still a form of interaction.
Yeah, and sometimes a toy is not used in the purpose I spend it to. Because when you think this toy is something that should be gnawed at, but it's for the bird, it's something that I can hide behind. It's not
Mhm.
the same intention. You know what I mean? Sometimes the bird makes
Yeah.
from the toy something else that is very interesting for the bird. I bought a toy that
Mhm.
was made of metal, and you can put a treat in it. But my bird does not use it as a treat toy. She just needs it to make a lot of noise. She bams it at the cage bars. And she finds it wonderful, but she doesn't never ever use it as a treat toy. So it's for her, it's a music game. And you know how they
Mhm.
love it to bam things at the cage bars. It's not what I
Yeah.
thought it would be. It's something difficult or different for her.
And I think that's true. Different toys serve different purposes for different birds.
Yes.
You could take the same toy and give it to 5 different birds, and I can almost guarantee they would use it differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not
Yeah.
a wrong way or a right way. It's always in our head because when I spent a lot of money for a bird toy, it should be gnawed at because this is what I thought it
Mhm.
would be the toy for the bird. But for the bird, something difficult, something that I can hide after, or that I can manipulate, or that I can just cling at the bars because it makes a lot of noise. I don't know.
Mhm.
It depends on the bird. And when I put it from one cage to the other, maybe it will be destroyed, or maybe not. Maybe it will be hidden after. So
Yeah.
it's always
Robin,
depending on
who's
the bird.
online listening, says toys don't come with an instruction book.
Oh, that's great. That's
I
wonderful.
like it. Good job.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't. And you know, birds don't either. And we kind of expect that when people get birds. So what do I have to do? I have to do this, 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 this.
And then I've got a happy bird.
I don't know.
Doesn't work that
Might
way.
be a
That's
little
not
different.
life. No, that doesn't work. It depends on the bird
No.
and it depends on the owner, and you have to figure
Yeah.
out what this bird wants, and it changes also with the season and with the age and with the hormonal status. When you've got a 54-year-old Amazon, it's not like the same like having a 1-year-old Amazon, because
Yeah.
they are the older ones. They've got problems with their body. They don't hear very good. They don't see very good, but they are calm and they know how life works and they know their owner so very well. They know humans so very well. They know how to manipulate us. While the other one is still in its puberty and it's, oh my dear God, it's so difficult. What to say?
It's, it's so true.
Birds are very
And
special.
I think, I used to, years ago when I first started, I would put candy out, all different kinds of candy. And I'm sure that I think Diane might have been at this workshop years and years ago. I know Debbie at Seattle
I
Parrot
have
Expo
been at
talks
that
about it.
workshop.
You have been at this one. I used to put candy out, all different kinds of candy on the tables. And everybody would pick them up during the workshop because I probably was boring and they wanted something to do. So they'd eat their candy. And it was all different kinds. And then I'd say, well, what did you have? And what did you have? Oh, I had chocolate. Oh, I had a sour candy. Well, and you liked them. Yes. But you're all humans. How come you don't all like the same thing?
Yeah.
And I think we need to remember that with our birds.
Yeah. The problem is birds all look the same, and everybody thinks that one Amazon is like the other Amazon, and one African grey is like the other African grey. Nope. They are all different. They've got all different personalities, and I love them for being so different, and sometimes a little bit difficult because you don't get old when you own a parrot, because then they get over you and you don't want to have that. You have to be just right on track with them because they know that they can manipulate you. And they know the rules of positive reinforcement better than we do. They come out of
Yeah.
their eggs with all the knowledge about training an owner, believe me. So easy for
It,
them.
it's they have an instruction manual for us.
They have what? Excuse me?
They have an instruction manual for us.
Yeah, definitely. You know the game. I throw something out of the table and the owner picks it up and gives it back to me. That's the retrieve of the owner. So easy.
It is. It really is, and if we just listen and we pay attention, there's so much to be learned from them about how to live with them successfully.
Yeah. How to make them happy.
Yeah.
How to give a pet, a bird in my home a happy and wonderful life. That's what it's all about. When I take an animal
Yeah.
into my home, I give it the best life ever with all the opportunities and the choices that I can offer this animal. It doesn't matter if it's a dog or if it's a rabbit or if it's a bird. If we are responsible for what we tame. So we give them the best lives that ever that we can give. And if somebody's got a question, we are here. They can ask. We offer workshops. We work online. We work everywhere on Earth as long as the internet is working with us. That might be sometimes a little problem, but we can help if somebody's got a question.
Lori said she would love to watch you interact with your birds. So maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Hilla and I are working on all kinds of fun stuff. So maybe someday.
Yeah, we have got problems
But
that are ahead of us, and we will realize them in the future, definitely.
that's the thing, Lori, and I think it's people expect people who do animal training, people who work with animals, that their animals at home are all perfect.
No,
Are your animals perfect, Hilla?
no, I can tell you a story. My African grey got a call from a Zoom consultation, very high-pitched call, and I didn't realize it. And every time she did this call, I just talked with her all the time, and I also answered this call. And then my younger daughter came home at the weekend, and she did this scream, and she said, "Oh my dear, I'm dying," because it was so loud. And she said, "What is this?" And I said, "I don't hear anything because my ears are so deaf and I don't hear very good. It didn't matter to me. I didn't hear this." And she said,
Yeah.
we need to fix this because I can't stay at home when she does this scream." And after that, I didn't reinforce the scream anymore. I didn't answer. I didn't even react. And it took me 2 weeks and it was gone again. You see, my bird is not
Yeah.
perfect. And when she can get me, she gets me. And she knows how to manipulate me. And
Mhm.
when she's angry with me, she turns her back on me. You see, she shows me directly, you are not reinforcing me. I don't like this behavior. I don't go on your step up on my blanket. No, I don't do this anymore. And you can see an African gray can look really, really angry, really angry, and she
Oh,
can be a
well, I
real
want
pest.
to thank you for joining me tonight. And I want to thank everybody for tolerating our internet issues. And if you are in the Seattle area, Hilla will be at the Seattle Parrot Expo tomorrow. And what's your topic for tomorrow?
Don't be shy to call a consultant. And after that, on Sunday, I talk about how our behavior influences our bird behavior. So we've got
Nice.
two
So
lectures.
actually, it's Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, you stay the whole
And
week.
she will also, I believe they're doing it online.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we
So
will have
you
a
can
lecture.
still,
What?
Nick, can people still register online?
Yes, they can at SeattleParrotExpo.com.
All right, SeattleParrotExpo.com. Thank you for sharing some of your Seattle time with us, Hilla. And
It was my pleasure.
I want everybody to take care. And remember, we've got that workshop coming up October 23rd, Spooky Spider Workshop at DIY. And you get a bonus toy as well. You can register at theleatherelves.com, theleatherelves.equid.com. And then I will be in Long Island visiting with Miss Diane Hyde uh, on October 14th at the Long Island Parrot Society Expo. So, Hilla, have fun in Seattle. Take care, um, and we will talk soon.
Hopefully, have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye bye.